Dean, he's only had a few short days as the dear leader, and already he's had a massive influence. The sales of skinny children's suits for grown-ups is through the roof. It's the Dishy effect. Women and men across the land are mesmerised by his easy smile, his natural demeanour, his magnetic animal attraction. Jacob Rees-Mogg was so affected he felt he had to quit his job rather than be lost in those lipid, dark brown eyes. As for the environment, well, he's not much bothered about that, and the austerity that worked so well the first time is coming back, and we're still having to pretend that Brexit can be fixed, like lopping your own arms off somehow has benefits, like not having to pay for sleeves, for example. Same old story, basically. New driver, same direction.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
You're joking.
Well, let's get back to it.
We are having what is called an Indian summer, which is quite possibly racist. It's been an unusually hot October this year. Experts say that it is due to a number of factors, including but not limited to a mass of hot air blowing in from northwest Africa.
Hot air. H-O-T-A-I-R.
There's been an area of low pressure over the southwest with a jet stream of fast-flowing air in the upper level of the atmosphere pushing south to north. It's pushing it all over us. This weekend, conditions will remain very mild, and the Met Office has forecast possible highs of 23 degrees centigrade in the south on Saturday. And I will translate European surrender centigrade to His Majesty's Sovereign Fahrenheit by simply doubling it and adding 32. Count along with me. 23 centigrade times 2 is 64, and 64 plus 32 is 108. Wow! It's going to be 108 degrees Fahrenheit in the south on Saturday. Can you believe that?
No.
But, and it's a huge but, temperatures will finally begin to fall next week, with Tuesday bringing rain, and if you don't get rain, you'll get showers. Damn it! Met Office spokesmodel Aidan said sunny spells on Saturday will leave areas feeling mild. 22, 23 Celsius is possible in the afternoon. Remarkably mild for the time of year, he said. Yeah, we know that. Saturday morning will start wet with some heavy rain, but drying up in the south by mid-morning, about 10:30, 10:35, something like that. The rain does not disappear, though. It goes up the country to end up where it belongs, in the northwest. That's you, Glasgow. Checking while you wait. Aha! Oh, wow. Okay, weather forecast for Glasgow for the next 2 weeks. You, in other areas, will get your own weather. Glasgow, it's raining right now. And raining tomorrow, and raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and raining on Friday, and then raining next Saturday, which is the 5th of November, remember. And then raining on the following Sunday, and raining on the Monday, and raining on the Tuesday, and raining on the Wednesday, and raining on the Thursday, as in every day for the rest of your lives.
Affirmative.
Every day for the rest of your lives. You need not consult the weather forecast again, because it will be raining. For the southeast of England, some sunshine. 23 Celsius possible in the afternoon. The average temperature in the south at this time of year is around 16 degrees. It's gonna be 23, which is like 8 louder. And it's all because of global warming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sunday to Tuesday, sunshine and showers, mild overnight. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
First 2 weeks of November. At first, rain or showers, then drier and brighter. Strong winds in the west. Temperatures falling closer to average in this period. That's the first 2 weeks of November. And the last 2 weeks of November, which is the absolute final time at which it can be nice, before we get plunged into the cold and the darkness for the next 12 months. So, good luck, everybody. Fingers crossed. Last 2 weeks of October, unsettled at first with showers and long spells of rain. Then, colder, drier weather and an increasing chance of frost and fog as overnight temperatures start to fall. Well, that's not very good news at all, but I suppose we're going to have to take it. Bruce emails, do you think that Rickety Surak's refusal to go to the COP27 talks is out of embarrassment because he's not exactly the elected leader of our country? Population 68 million, votes for Surak 200. Tory democracy at its best. Well, it's the only kind of democracy that most of us are familiar with. God, these people are keen, aren't they? Hey, stop texting and emailing me. I mean it. Jed says, I really need to, spelt wrong, hear new Tory party chairman counting how many members they have left. What, like you could just play me like a marionette? You want me to play him counting?
And one.
More than that.
Two.
More than that.
6 million.
Less than that. Between 2 and 6 million. Darryl says the MOG may have returned to the backbenches, but at least he can be happy that his legacy of government efficiency is secure. After all, Deck Chair Dom has been reappointed as both Justice Secretary and the Deputy Prime Minister, meaning he can laze on the beach neglecting both roles at the same time. Efficiency delivered. What do you say, Smug?
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
He still doesn't know anything. He's a person in search of a thing about which he knows not one bit, not so far. Paul says, wishing you a happy... Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Paul tweets, wishing you a happy St. Jude Thaddeus Day, the 28th of October. I hope your St. Crispin's Day went well. Hey, how did your Crispin Day go there, Smug?
I don't know anything.
He still doesn't know anything. What an absolute plank. I mean, if you were in any doubt to read the date that he wrote on his letter, I mean, good grief. Look up the word plank in a dictionary and I think you'll find that it fits. I'm going to look it up right now, as a matter of fact. One moment. Plank. Definition. A long... Yep. A long, thin, flat piece of timber. Bingo! Where do we even begin? God, it boggles my tiny mind just even thinking about it. Here's the sound of my tiny mind being boggled. So to demonstrate his eco-credentials and show how much he values the planet and everyone on it that isn't a lobbyist for the oil industry, in 48 short hours, this week's Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has pulled out of attending a major climate summit, COP27 in Egypt. Wherever that is. He removed COP President Alok Sharma from Cabinet and removed the Climate Minister Graham Stewart from Cabinet. He said he wasn't going to go. I don't want to go and you can't make me, he squeaked. He couldn't go because he's too busy telling us how, under his leadership, the government will be run with integrity.
Yowza.
That was the wrong one. Oh, well, never mind. I have got to place the groovy and the goofy buttons further away from each other because my mind got frozen for a moment there because I was going for goofy, but my pen hovered over groovy and I ended up hitting yowza instead. It's a catastrophe. But don't worry about me because I am a trained professional and I will work through it. He couldn't go. Did you hear? He couldn't go because he's too busy telling us how under his leadership the government will be run with integrity. That's right. And he demonstrated his integrity by filling his government with the exact same faces that were in the last government and the government before that. I mean, if the pool of talent in the Tory ranks was an actual pool, you wouldn't get your hair wet unless you were standing on your head. This country's going down. And as Fishy was pulling out and Therese Coffin was on TV saying that she didn't know if Joe Biden or Emmanuel Macron would be going, she said that it was no big deal to miss it because she didn't know if Joe Biden or Emmanuel Macron were going to be going to the COP27. Whereas anyone with access to an internet would know that Joe Biden and Emmanuel Macron are going. And the fact that she didn't know doesn't look too good, as she has been appointed as the actual environment. That's how Nadine Dorries would pronounce it. The actual environment minister by Mr. Integrity, Rishi Sunak. I mean, it's not like there's a crisis on. Just 24 hours ago, the actual UN warned that the planet's heading for a climate catastrophe and urged world leaders not to put climate change on the back burner. And Fishy heard that, and he decided that the best thing to do would be to put climate change on the back burner. And then he turned off... wow! And then he turned the burner off. It's his way of saving the planet. I mean, even the Lizbot Truss was going to attend the summit. But she isn't Prime Minister anymore. She's been repurposed as an extra on Doctor Who.
That is a disgrace.
And now we've got a climate change denying millionaire who's married to a billionaire, and people seem to think that because he has a brown face that somehow he'll be good to those who also have non-white faces and good for the little people, not leprechauns. But he isn't defined by the colour of his face, because like the super rich everywhere, he's defined by his wealth. And you don't have as much money as he does, and everyone he knows. So you're not on the top of his agenda. The super rich can't even see you unless you're worth at least as much as them. If the poor people of this country have really convinced themselves that because he's non-white that he will care for those less well off, they're not... God, I seem to be falling apart. If that's what you've convinced yourself of, because he has a non-white face, that he's going to be concerned for those who are less well off, then I have a genuine made-in-China Rolex watch I'd like to sell you. What's with the oil people and Rolex watches, by the way? How much oil is in a Rolex? And the first people that would be affected by the change in climate, apart from those who live close to the river, are the poor, because they will find that the cost of everything goes through the roof. I mean, if you can't afford to eat much now, just wait till the crops fail because of too much water or too little water, and the fish die out, and the price of cattle feed skyrockets. And the meeting that Fishy is too busy to attend is this year's one that they had in Glasgow, and the country has pledged to revisit and strengthen their targets for limiting global warming to 1.5%. And that's where it gets a bit tricky, because it never really seems to amount to much. I mean, it's a meeting that results in everyone saying, well, it really is awful and something should be done. See you next time. And the thing that's propelling the world to use less fuel and go for renewables with added vigour is, of course, Vlad the Insane's war in Ukraine, not the sudden realisation that we better do something now for the preservation of our way of life in the future. It's the urge to reduce our fuel bills in the present, because we'd rather spend the money on holidays or clothes or dinner. A little bit of dried bread and some water.
Stop whining.
And in response to accusations of a shameful dereliction of duty, a number one spokesmodel said, "The Prime Minister is not expected to attend COP27, and this is due to other pressing domestic commitments." Which sounds a lot like, don't question us, peasant. And like I said, Rishi Sunak might have kept the actual COP President Alok Sharma and the Climate Minister Graham Stewart in their posts, but they will no longer attend a cabinet. And I don't know what that means. Apart from it doesn't sound good. It sounds like Fishy didn't want the bad press that would have come from firing them, but he equally doesn't want to hear what they've got to say. I bet if I was a representative of the oil companies and I had a wallet full of 20s I fancied bunging to a political party, he'd want to hear what I've got to say. But maybe I'm being unkind. And the protection of the only world we have is something that's close to his heart. So I looked up how he's acted on climate issues. I did homework.
What?
As Chancellor, Rishi Sunak didn't even mention the climate in his 2021 budget. Instead, he halved air passenger duty, extended the freeze on fuel duty, and didn't announce funding for improved home insulation. In his spring statement this year, he ruled out a windfall tax on oil and gas companies, and in terms of his voting record, has almost always voted against measures to prevent climate change. He's about as climate-friendly as a fire in a peat bog. And Downing Street said that the PM remains absolutely committed to supporting the climate conference. Yeah, he's so committed he's not going. And he's appointed Therese Coffin as the new Environment Minister. We're doomed. And the number one spokesmodel said the reason he wouldn't be going is a recognition of other pressing domestic commitments, not least preparations for the autumn budget. But you know what? That's just rearranging numbers on a screen. That won't seem very important when the rising tide takes that computer and the table it's sitting on and floats it out the window along with his sofa and the gold wallpaper that will peel off because it isn't actually made of gold, despite the cost to us poor dopes who pay taxes. You know, but what does he care? He's a billionaire. The water will have to get quite high before it bothers the people in the penthouse flats. But Labour's Shadow Business Secretary Ed Miliband said this is a massive failure of leadership. He said what Rishi Sunak fails to understand is that tackling the climate crisis is key to our domestic priorities, including how we get to lower bills and jobs and energy security. Yeah, I think what Labour's Shadow Business Secretary Ed Miliband fails to understand is that none of that is any concern to a man who appears to be siding with the companies that are causing the crisis for their short-term gain. Short-termism. And the reward that short-termism gives to a very few rich individuals is what will consign the whole human race to a miserable future of drought and flood and heat waves and storms. That's why lobbyists for the fuel companies spend millions of pounds to slow down or cancel legislation that would impact their profitability, because it's worth spending millions to save billions. Essentially, it's just the greed of a few that will do for the whole lot of us. And the success of that policy can be seen from the amount of people who start yelling hippie or socialist or crusty or eco-warrior whenever someone points this out. You can see it from the number of people that refuse to believe that there's even such a thing as climate change. You know, the people who do their own research. Yeah, meanwhile, the head of politics at Greenpeace UK, Rebecca Newsom, she released a statement. She said... And the UN General Secretary, Antonio Guterres, said there's been a tendency to put climate change on the back burner. He said if we're not able to reverse the present trend, we will be doomed. The UN Secretary said that. We will be doomed if we don't do something to help ourselves. And people seem determined not to. What a way to run a planet, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Right, so what are we doing?
Gibbon, we're doing a super radio show. Keep up, dear. Tom texts, everything is in freefall. Let's not pretend that the unelected Fishy Sunak can sort out this chaos, because he can't. We're all marooned and doomed. We're not only doomed, but we're marooned too.
Oh, no.
Couldn't get any worse. Oh, don't say that. They'll find a way. Maidstone. Hello, Joan.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Do not worry. Do not worry one little bit, because he really is doomed. Now you think of the start of Diwali, the most holy time for Hindus, Asian, particularly for Hindus, when there's the sun god there and he goes over to enlighten, and a beautiful story.
Well,
right.
you know much more about it than I do, because
Yep,
when people start
right.
talking religion at me, I close my ears and I just go into a trance.
Okay, right. Well, let me just finish, really. Because he promised on the doorstep of number 10, ethical and all these wonderful things.
Ethical.
They were celebrating in Leicester like there was no tomorrow. Then they discovered...
Well, one day there will be no tomorrow, so you might as well get it in now.
Yeah, then they discovered what sort of man he is, and they will be not very happy. Particularly when he hasn't gone to COP, when India, his hometown, the people came from India, will be doomed.
Right, okay. Doomed, you say?
Doomed. So do not worry. I mean, he may even be the centrepiece of the Lewis parade.
Well-
parade that takes place in Lewes.
Right, I've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about now, but excellent work. Thanks a lot, Joan, explaining it to us. Jerry texts, Therese Coffin, Environment Secretary, is she going to spray antibiotics from her handbag to heal the environment? What a farce. No, she hasn't got any antibiotics left. She gave them out to her friends and family. Yeah, I'm on about 3 or 4 pints of Therese Coffin's antibiotics a day now, man, but I can handle it. I'm just feeling a bit woozy at the moment, that's all. Amelia tweets, the moment when Rishi used the word robust in PM questions this week, I understood that it's now clear that Boris may be gone, but his soul has stayed.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Robust. I bet he was very clear about it too. Ugh, what is it with these people? Yeah, they'll have a hard time trying to beat the metaphorical stench of Boris Johnson out of the curtains over at number 10. That scent will linger longer. Metaphorically speaking. Bermondsey. Hello, David.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, it's just about COP27.
Yeah.
Well, what I want to say, Nick, is that what worries me about COP27 is that it's making governments make bad decisions.
Oh, yes.
For example, they will close roads and they will say, "No, this is a climate-safe street." But all it's doing is diverting traffic onto other roads, generally poorer people, and they are getting the displaced traffic, you see?
Yeah. You're saying that as though you've just you've done your own research and you've just come to this stunning conclusion. We know that.
Well, what do you mean you know that? So you're quite happy for traffic to be moved from posh areas to poorer people? Is that what you mean?
Well, as long as it doesn't impact me in a negative way, absolutely. And I'm sorry if that sounds selfish, but it's me. That's absolutely fabulous, by the way. That's not my line. That's an absolutely fabulous line. Okay, David, thanks for that stunning revelation. Move traffic from one road to another, and the traffic will move from one road to another.
Affirmative.
That is absolutely right. As soon as you have another revelation, David, I want you to let me know straight away. Promise me you'll do that. Archie texts, I'll give him till Christmas. He's fishy soon knackered. And Rona says, I was listening to some old podcasts and found one from your lockdown. You were trying desperately not to touch your face. It drove me mad. I was touching my face all the time. Even typing this, I'm scratching my nose. It's subliminal stuff. This subliminal stuff is so weird, says Rona. Well, I can remember it very well. I can remember it like it was just 2 years ago. I was sitting in this very studio wearing marigolds, the sweat pouring out of the bottom of them, because if you wear those things for more than about 10 minutes, then you wouldn't believe the amount of sweat that could come off your hands. There were like pools in there, because I didn't want to touch anything. And when you start thinking about not touching your face, the only thing you want to do is touch your face, because it's alive with itches when you start thinking about it. But I don't want to go down that route. But by the way, if you want to hear the best of those old shows, then I put together a podcast called The Nick Abbot Habit, which is the 30-minute best of. It's just the concentrated funny parts, and it comes out on a Monday. Ask for it by name on an internet near you, The Nick Abbot Habit. Oh, blimey, look at the time.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Thank you for holding. Your call is important to us.
Yes, Ian in Folkestone, your call is important to us.
Oh, hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I think the Tories have kind of run out of room. I mean, I know you like Folkestone. I think you've come down here a couple of times.
Yeah.
But the Folkestone Arm, which, nice pub at the end, that was all paid for by EU money.
Is that
and the
true?
Conservatives...
EU money?
Yeah, regional funding, yeah.
I thought it was. I thought it was one bloke took it over who had. I can't remember who it was right now.
It was Saga Chief. So
that rings a bell.
Saga Chief. Yeah, and then but it was matched with EU money. And the thing is, I mean, overwhelmingly, everybody voted for Brexit.
No.
But
that's not
well,
true.
in this area they did. Well, in this area they did. Sorry.
Right.
But nothing's changed. And that's where I think Rishi's going to come a cropper. Is nothing's changed. There's
well,
not
things
new
have changed, but not for the good.
Exactly,
Things have certainly changed a
exactly.
lot, but there ain't no positives. We had an entire human being whose job it was to look for a positive. Found any yet?
I don't know anything.
Still nothing.
Exactly. So yeah, that's. I just think they're running out of room. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Keir Starmer, but I think, in comparison to what we have, he's 10 times better than what we have now. So yeah, that's all. And thank you, Nick. Thanks for doing a great
all
show.
right. Thanks a lot, Ian. I think that really informs to me why he put Cruella Braverman back in that position. Somebody to take the heat off. Somebody for the press to go, what? Everything that she says from this moment on will be a distraction bomb. And that's just the way that Rishi Sunak likes it. Somebody else taking the heat, somebody else having the eyes of the press peering at what they're doing instead of what he's doing. That can be the only reason. I mean, that's unless it was some sort of. There's been a suggestion that it's some deal he made with the ERG. You know the ERG. Yeah, those lot. Crank some weirdos over at that place. The suggestion is that because she's one of those people. That they say, okay then. We'll support you, but you got to put Cruella back in a job. Now she's the chief dinghy spotter. So that, to me, is the only reason that I can come up with why he put her back there, is that either he did a deal with the sort of crank end of the backbenchers, or it's a way of distracting us from what is actually going on. Because she'll be coming out with all of this deranged stuff, which will occupy us as they, as they take us to the destination that they first thought of, which is a bad place for most of us. Unless you know otherwise, in which case you must correct me. Watford. Hello, Neil.
Hi. Is it Nick?
Yes, Neil.
Hi, Nick. I was born in Kenya, right? And as a Kenyan Indian, we are probably the most successful people in this country. Our kids do well now.
As a Kenyan Indian, you are the most successful people in this country?
Yes, we are.
By
By
what measure?
Yeah, we have got the highest. Look, Rishi Sunak's father was born in Kenya.
Okay.
Okay, now, just hear me out. Just give me 2 minutes, yeah?
Couple of minutes.
Okay. Now, basically, what I'm saying is that I just went to a very English pub. I live in a lovely part of rural Watford. We've got fantastic pubs.
Hang on a minute. A lovely part of rural Watford. That.
Yes. Listen to me.
Okay, then.
Listen to me. Okay?
A lovely part of rural Watford. That doesn't seem possible, but I'll believe you.
It is possible. Okay. Anyway, it was full of English people. I spoke to a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Not one person, they are all very middle-class English people, not one person had a bad word to say about Rishi.
Well, hang on a minute. Wait, just paint us a picture. So you walked into a pub full of people that you don't know, and you went around asking them what they think of Rishi Sunak?
I go to that pub I go to that pub regularly.
Oh, right.
So why are you assuming it? I didn't go there for the first time. I walked in, I spoke to a lot of people. I even met one Etonian. It's a lovely place, you know. We mix with the right crowd. As Indians from Kenya. So listen to me. Not one person.
You're in with the in crowd like Brian Ferry.
Rock and roll! No.
Go ahead.
Hold it. Nick, not one person called him fishy.
Yeah, I know. Right.
So why are you going down this route? And by the way...
So let me paint... No, you wait. So the picture is that you go into a pub that you have been in before, full of people that you don't know, and you ask...
I know them. I told you, I go to the pub regularly.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It's not full of the same people every time you go in, is it? You might recognise a couple of faces, including the people behind the bar, but there won't be an entire room full of people that you know personally.
No,
it's not Coronation Street.
No, they've got a regular clientele. about 15, 20 people who
Okay,
come there.
and so this giant ocean-going boar walks in and asks everybody what they think of the Prime Minister, and you're expecting me to believe that?
Yes, I did. No, but what you're saying, that this is a pub which is visited by the regulars. There's always a good English
Well, that's
pub.
the definition of regulars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just had a nice chat. I
A
didn't talk
nice
to them.
chat
They
with
asked-
each and every one of them. So you had a clipboard
No, I didn't
with
talk
you.
to each. No. You are twisting my words. Go ahead, Nick.
Mark them
I
down
spoke
as
to-
pro or for, and none
No.
of them really wanted to engage you in conversation. So they said, "Well, we haven't got anything to say about them at all."
No. I engaged with them. Look, I'm a chartered surveyor, okay? They know me quite well. I spoke to... And not one of them nobody called him fishy, yeah?
I'm a
No.
chartered surveyor. What's that going to do with
Yeah.
anything?
Everything, because I probably understand more about
About surveying? Yeah, right.
No, but listen to me. These
Chartered
people...
surveyor. You could count the number of bricks in a wall, but not necessarily
No, I
the
can do
political
more. I can
opinion
do-
of everybody that's in a
listen to
room
me.
that you don't
I
know.
can do... Listen to me. I can do heat loss calculation, which is beyond your mental comprehension.
Well, I know. I mean, numbers are really make me come up short.
86%, 5 million, and of course over 50%. And what I'm saying is an additional 162 million. And that comes, by the way, on top of the 500 million. Now, 36 billion.
Have you stopped speaking?
Of which 5.4 billion.
Yes, Neil.
Probably
I am
one of the
talking to
biggest
you like a
of
man.
500,000 of
Sexist.
over 16,000. Massive, half a million. And one, two.
Why are you talking over me?
11.
It's not me.
1.7 billion. And then
It's a
1.4
government
billion,
minister who's talking
250,000,
over you. Have
6
some
million,
respect, man.
Basically 3.1 billion. Right now, that's a big number, and that's exactly what I'm delivering.
That is exactly what he is delivering. You'll be delighted to learn, Neil. I bet nobody had a bad word to say about Nadeem Zahawi either. Thanks for the update, mate. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Phone now and get spoken to like a man.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
A big sack of monkey nuts.
You can say that again. 0345 6060 973. Adam texts, I don't know why people are surprised that Cruella is back so soon. Priti Patel was back in a high cabinet job 2 years after breaking the ministerial code. It goes back to Boris laying the rotten foundation which the party now follows. Everything's seen through the lens of, is this as bad as Boris? And if the answer is no, it's all gravy.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Gravy. And Dave says it's not an Indian summer. It has to drop below zero and then heat up again. Don't mention it, he says. I won't. I didn't know that. The stuff you learn on this show, eh? Educational, no?
No.
And Paul says, we'll just bring our bonfires inside if it's raining. Well, that's a good idea. Always put your bonfire on wheels in case you need to move it in an emergency. Cheltenham. Hello, Sam.
Hi. A quick call. I just wanted to say that I only found out today that the ERG, that you mentioned a bit earlier, is taxpayer funded. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that these sort of headbangers who are in a position to blackmail this government into being more and more right-wing are funded by taxpayers. Suella Braverman has refused repeatedly, point blank refused to say who's in the ERG and even how many of them there are.
It was comical. She was being interviewed by Krishna Guru Murthy out of the Channel 4 News. And she just kept saying, well, the list is available. And he said, well, can I have it then? It's publicly available, she said. And he said, well, if it's publicly available, where can I see it? It's available for the public to see, she said. It just went on and on and on like that. And she was tying her own face up in knots.
Well, she just seemed to find it funny, and
no, I don't think she was laughing because she found it funny. I think she was laughing because she was like caught in the headlights and she didn't know what to do.
Well, she was hopeless. I mean, I think in the context of eye-watering, cuts to spending, the very fact that and your researcher said to me, when I said, oh, it's terrible, that LGBT, and your researcher said, well, that they pool the money. I thought, well, that sounds even worse, even more like a den of thieves.
Well, there's a lot of things that we poor dopes who pay taxes shouldn't have to be putting our money towards, and that is absolutely one of them. And private school is another. Why do people who are too poor to send their children to private school subsidise those that are rich enough to send their children to private school. Why are private schools charities? That makes no sense.
It might change. I mean, I think Sam has. My second and final thing I'm going to say was about Therese. I think of her as Cough, like hair coffee. She said, I saw her saying on telly that Labour, the Labour Party, had wickedly turned that fracking vote into a confidence vote, which was just an absolute lie. That's not what happened at all, is it? I thought that the Tories themselves went back and forth, flip-flop,
Yeah. Well,
is that not right? Am I wrong? Am I going mad? I don't know. I didn't think it was Labour.
Which one of those questions do you want me to answer first? Thanks a lot, Sam. 034. It's not you. It's them. 0345 6060 973. Paul says, oh no, I've read that. The bonfires come inside if it's raining. Good idea, Paul. A great step forward in health and safety. Don't leave a bonfire outside if it's raining because it'll get wet. Bring it indoors. Better. Rob texts, how can people describe Rishi Sunak as dishy? No, this is not fair. He says, have you seen the size of his ears? Even the construct on Michael Fabricant's head couldn't conceal their enormity. Well, that's just a fact. Patrick tweets, I'm in Glasgow right now. It's not raining. Pfft, rubbish. Don't believe a word of it, Patrick. And Lynn texts, I just asked Alexa if it is raining in Glasgow right now, and she said, it probably won't rain in Glasgow tonight. There's only a 14% chance of rain. Just saying, says Lynn. Alexa, you're an idiot. I'm sorry, I don't know how to help you with that. Oldbury. Hello, Ranjit.
Hiya, Nick. You okay?
Yes, good, thanks.
You know that caller, was he Anil? He says the Kenyans are the most successful people in this country. I tell you what. Yeah, I'm not even going to go and say anything.
No.
You know, the thing is, a few things, Nick. You know, last week when they wanted to do a bit of distraction, they were talking about the Kohinoor diamond belonging to India.
Oh, yeah.
Right, which was like a curveball in what was going on. Now, if you read back the history of the Kohinoor, it actually came from Afghanistan, and it belonged to Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who was a Maharaja of Lahore, and it's actually in Pakistan. And if you trace back Rishi Sunak's ancestry, right, his is from Pakistan, and the Indians are just claiming him for no reason, right, just because he's done well. Right, and then right.
Hey, Ranjit,
right?
how come people just can't get along? Answer me that.
No, I get on with everybody. I haven't got a problem. I've had people come in my shop. Mm. Well, you've got your mate in there now, ain't you? And I says, well, what? It's a Keir Starmer. He says, no, your mate Rishi, right? And I just think
what blows my mind is that people think that just because he is a non-white person, then he will be good for non-white people, as though that's what defines him. That's not what defines him. It's about the money, honey. He's a millionaire. Yeah. That's what defines him.
Yeah, well, you look at, I mean, you know, the ancestry of Suella Braverman is from Africa. Priti Patel's from Africa.
If you go back far enough, Ranjit, we're all from Africa.
Oh, we are. But what I'm saying is they had a detour from India to Africa.
Oh, they made a detour.
Basically, right. Basically, what
hang
happened
a right
was,
at the Oasis and you can't miss it. Yeah.
Yeah. What happened was when the British Raj was there, what they did was they got all the selected few ones that were quite highly educated and took them to Africa.
Is this a history lesson? Because if it's a history lesson, then I'm staring out the window, yearning for double geography.
No. And then you got Smug, yeah. I'm just glad he resigned because you know what? I can't stand the sight of Smug.
Really?
Right?
I would have preferred that he got fired.
Yeah, but he ran before he was pushed, yeah? The thing was, have you seen him the way he walks? That's unnatural, even the way he walks. When you see him walking in and out of 10 Downing Street, yeah?
There's nothing natural about him.
I don't know anything.
Including the way he talks. No one talks like that. No one. Even the Queen didn't used to talk like that.
No. And then just slightly change. You know,
God, you're all over the shop. You're going to change subject now?
Last one. COP27. Yeah?
Yes.
Look at the carbon footprint of just Joe Biden. How many aeroplanes and this, that, and the other is going to happen. So why don't Rishi Sunak, right, just do a Zoom meeting, or if they need somebody in that seat, they could put a lump of lard in there. Remember, they've done that on one of the TV programs, and they can say.
Except it wouldn't be appropriate to make him in the form of a lump of lard, because there's no lard on him. He'd have to be. You could put a stick insect in a box there.
Yeah, but he's definitely African. Do you know that?
Hey, Ranjit, have you been frying tonight?
Oh, yeah, I tell you what, Nick, I really do appreciate you asking. The people that come in now are everyday people. They are struggling, right? I've just tilled up. All I've got is coppers and everything, like in change. Yeah?
Well, so is trade down then?
It's proper down. People are suffering. They're coming in. They're saying, Ranjit, listen, we're only going to have a little bit today. I said, look, that's fine, right? And the government now needs to realise that children are going to go hungry. Yeah,
because I bet people are going to come in and they'll be like, well, you know me, can't you just give us an extra this, that or the other, wanting you to step into the breach and fund their lifestyle?
No, they don't. You know what, I'd like to do it if I could, right? But then who's going to fund my lifestyle?
Well, that's my exact point. Yeah, they will think you're being mean because you've got all of this food in front of you and you're not giving it to them.
No. If someone genuinely comes to my shop, right, and says, "Look, I'm really hungry," I'll give them a bag of chips. Yeah, and that's with my hand on my heart.
Right. Can I get vinegar on that?
I'll charge you £20 for the vinegar, right? No. I mean, one of the chip shops a couple of miles away, I've heard they started charging £10 for a large fish. Forget the chips, just £10.
Wow.
They've broken the 10 because my fish and chips now are like £10 something, £10.30. Okay.
I went to a theatrical production last night and I asked for 2 gin and tonics. Guess how much? £25. £25 for 2 gin and tonics.
I was listening to LBC a few months ago, and they said that the politicians in Singapore get paid that much money, right, that they don't even want to be corrupt. And if the population are happy, that's what they were saying on LBC on one of the programs. Yeah. I don't know if it's true.
Well,
okay,
I'm guessing it's not, because there's no such thing as too much money. Does not exist.
Yeah, of course. But going back to the shop, people are coming in now. Honestly, they are struggling. You can see the looks on their faces, right? When the kids say, "Mum, can I have a sausage?" "Oh, no, you can't have a sausage." No. "Mum, can I have some nuggets?" "No, you can't."
No, just stand there and smell the air for a little while, and then we'll leave.
It's a horrible place out there for I mean, I'm working like 90 hours a week.
Well, I'm concerned about the little people, the small business person such as yourself, because you're really going to be up against it. This winter is going to be awful.
This rebate, I don't qualify because my contract was renewed in February for my gas, and my electric was renewed last October. So all these things, what they're doing is spinning everything and telling, we're out there to help you. Let me tell you, there's nobody out there to help you.
How much is your gas bill?
My gas bill, it used to be about £400 a month. Now it's about £900.
What?
And my electric used to be, and I got let off lightly, Nick, because I done it last year, right? Some people, they're going to go out of business. There's loads. This is a wicked Balti house across the road from me. They've thrown in the towel. They've been shut for about 6 months now. They're not bothered.
That's going to be a story of the winter. It's going to be here, there, and everywhere, baby. Ranjit, I wish you all the best, and all of the good people that come in your store. Thanks very much. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hello.
Everything is going extremely well.
Everything is going extremely badly. There was a poll that came out today. Britons would apparently prefer Rishi Sunak to balance the books by cutting spending rather than hiking taxes. So said a poll of thoughtless numpties today. Exclusive research from Mail Online found strong support for getting the government finances under control. 70% of those that expressed a preference said that stability must come before economic growth. 52% suggested state spending should bear the brunt. 25% urged tax rises, which is because none of them thought for a second about what it was they were being asked. I bet most of the people that expressed a preference are in receipt of something provided by the government from taxes. You know, they might use something called the NHS, or want a police person to police something, or they might want the council to fix a street light, or they might need their pensions to go up with the cost of living, or they might have a child at a school, or any one of the millions of things that are provided for 99% of us who aren't millionaires, because they don't need any of that stuff, but we do. You know, but the respondents didn't think about anything like that. They just assumed that because it's provided in some way now, that it will always be provided, and that no government cuts will affect them or anyone they know. No, they were just thinking about having extra money. Short-termism. The thing that will do for mankind. I mean, as a species, we haven't really progressed beyond the infant phase where we scream till we get a sweetie. Delayed gratification? No, thank you. It's like being in the circus as a trapeze artist and being willing to forego a safety net so they can use the money that they would have spent on that for a big TV, which they won't be able to watch because they'll fall to their death from the high wire because they didn't buy a safety net. But there is light among all the stupid. The Sunak household's personal wealth is said to be more than £700 million. £700 million. And people were asked if they thought that someone rich was in touch with the little people, not leprechauns. And they said... No. 62% agreed that an extraordinarily rich politician could not identify with the experience of ordinary people. That was against 15% who disagreed. 62% said they cannot experience or feel what it's like to be normal. 15% disagreed. They think that even if you've got 700 million quid in the bank, then you know what it's like to be a normal person. Well, I would like to meet some of that 15%. I've got a few genuine made-this-week antiques I'd like to interest them in. And this poll found that 42% of Britons believe government spending should be lower. 28% said the same and 12% said higher. 42% think that government spending should be lower. And what the 42% meant when they said that is that government spending on things they don't want should be lower. On things that they don't need or won't affect them in any way whatsoever. That should be lower. Not the stuff they like, but they didn't think about that. I mean, on tax, which is set to reach the highest level for a generation, 36% said it should be lower. 37% said the same. 13% said higher. But, you know, tax cuts are for the rich. The richer you are, the better tax cuts work out for you. The poorer you are, the worse it is for taxes to be cut, because you're more likely to need the sort of things that taxes pay for. And that's how they get you, by playing on your natural greed to get you to vote for things that aren't actually in your own interest. I mean, that's how they got Brexit over the line. Sorry to bring up the B word. Oh, no. But that's how they got Brexit over the line. By promising you'd be richer. Oh, and have more control. The more control part was important. How are both of those things working out, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
We're poorer and we have as much control as your average small child in a playground full of gangs. This week, the PM is said to have reached the conclusion that they will need to build a buffer in the region of £10 billion via extra cuts or tax rises to help balance the nation's books. And it's polls like this that essentially ask people if they would like a little more money or a reduction in some mysterious thing that might not affect them, that they don't really know, and they choose a little more money, because who wouldn't? And so a poll like that would embolden the fishy Sunaks of this world to cut the things that actually do matter, but only if you're one of the non-specials, the non-rich. Then it would matter to you, not to him. And the biggest decision that Fishy's got to make is on the state pension triple lock. The pensioners,
Warning!
The people who vote. If pensions don't go up in line with inflation, you might get a load of pensioners staying home on polling day. Or, and this might sound like an unlikely scenario, you might get pensioners to vote for a party other than the Tories.
What?
I mean, they won't vote Lib Dem unless they live on a gated private estate in Surrey. But they might actually vote Labour. They might vote Labour despite what Keir Starmer looks like.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
Take away the pensioner votes and the Tories are about as popular as the mad cow disease. So should we assume that the pensioners will get what they've been promised and the young uns will get nothing? And the reason you keep getting nothing, kids, is that you don't vote. I mean, I know it's boring and you can't be bothered and they're all the same and nothing ever happens. But it would if you just stopped staring at your phones for 10 minutes and actually took part, then your life would improve. You numpties. And I mean that in a supportive and helpful way. And Downing Street hinted yesterday that the state pension triple lock may face reform to make it more sustainable and provide what they called certainty in the long run, which really is some sort of death wish on their part. Attack the oldies at your peril, Fishy. But I reckon that's the old switcheroo. When they tell you something is going to be world-beatingly bad, and when they do something that's just awful, we feel relieved. It's like when you're negotiating your contract with your employer, and their opening offer is to kill you and all of your family, and then after 3 days of intense negotiations, they end up giving you 0.1% pay rise, and you think that you've done well. And that triple lock, which was introduced in 2010, guarantees that the pension is going to rise in line with the highest out of inflation earnings, or 2.5%. But inflation is already at a massive amount. What is it, 12, something like that? So then pensions are going to have to go up for those most in need by a huge amount, just for them to get by. And we have a very low base from which to operate. I mean, we have some of the worst state pensions in the developed world. I mean, no wonder people are so blooming happy in the Scandi countries. They get way better pensions and care from their governments, and they get to have hot Scandinavian relations with each other while they're at it.
Disgusting.
I did homework, if you can believe that, and I looked up how other European countries treat their most senior citizens. And the pension entitlement as a percentage of pre-retirement average earnings was 82% for Spain. In other words, as a pensioner, you got in Spain 82% of what you were earning before you retired. 82% in Spain, 75% in France, 51% in Germany, and 29% in this country. 29%! In other words, we get less. And we also, what we do get is more from qualifying for benefits and providing our own pensions than in those other countries, France and Germany and Spain. Of the 4 countries that the OECD compared, the proportion of pensioners' earnings from publicly provided benefits is the smallest in the UK. So what we get is mostly made up of qualifying for benefits and our own private pensions. Whereas in other countries, better-run countries with happier people, they get a larger proportion of the earnings that they were used to before they retired, and those earnings aren't based on whether you qualify for benefits or not. You know, those persons in the old persons adverts for cruises. You know, those people, the smiley, happy pensioner people. Well, bad news. They're all models and they're all French. Cabinet Officer Nadim Zahawi, he said yesterday that tough decisions would be needed. He said,
so obviously, but I know certainly.
I'm afraid we completely run out of time. He suggested pensioners should be protected, saying they were uniquely likely to vote Tory no matter what they did to them. He didn't. He actually said pensioners should be protected as they are uniquely vulnerable at a time of high inflation. And he said that because he cares. Terence emails, it's a witch hunt. What's a witch hunt? What tripe are you spouting? It's a witch hunt. What you're saying about our... Okay, from the top. Terence emails, what tripe are you sprouting? Not spouting, sprouting. It's spelt wrong. A witch spelt wrong. Hunt. What you're spelt wrong saying about our Rishi, both spelt wrong. He already done more for our country than Starmer done in 3 years. Keep it up, Richie. You're making us all so proud to be British. You know what? It's very difficult to tell because, you know, the stuff that you see that is apparently from ordinary people that you might pass in the street. You might cross the road to the other side of the street to avoid coming close to them. But it's the kind of thing that you do see a lot. But that's so badly spelt. I'm guessing that you're a troll. Back under your bridge, troll. Caroline texts, these are literally summer temperatures in almost November. Why aren't people more worried about climate change? Because it's great. As long as it doesn't affect us right now, Caroline, no one cares. We're not remotely interested about tomorrow. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LB Conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Everything is going extremely well.
Yeah, we got some of that. Not much, but some. 0345 6060 973. Jen emails, do you think that Joe Biden would qualify for PIP's full mobility? As in personal independence payment? I don't know, Jen. He seems fairly mobile. I mean, you know, he lurches about a bit. And besides which, he's doing just fine. He doesn't need the help. John emails, a lady in Edinburgh will be fined £20,000 if she does not change the colour of her front door. The council say her pink door does not fit in with the style of houses in the street. I wonder if she said it was to support women with breast cancer, what would be their reply? Huh. What's wrong with a pink door? I mean, do all the rest of the doors, are they all in the same colour? Or you've got to fill in the details there, John. Curious minds are keen to find out. And Pamela tweets, I live in Spain and it's just been announced that pensioners are getting a 9% rise in January. Lucky people, says Pamela. 9% on an already generous payout. Whereas people in this country, meanwhile, Charles via Alexa says, I am blind and cannot see, but is it true that referee Shurak looks like Roland Rat? Yeah, a little bit like Roland Rat. Yeah. It's the same dead eyes. Greg says, ever since a couple of weeks ago when Jeremy Hunt was appointed Chancellor, every time he's on, all I hear is, isn't he an absolute dream? It's not Jeremy Hunt that's the dream, it's Fishy Sunak. Look at his hair, look at his smile, look at his suit. Catherine says, in the last few programmes you've mentioned Michael Fabricant's hair, so I looked him up. It seems to be a wig, but I didn't think it was too bad. Catherine, what? She says, the way you described it, I expected it to look like a plate of tripe. He's on YouTube in a programme called First Dates. It's funny. Also, that is a disgrace that you paid £25 for 2 gins.
Booze.
Yeah, 2 gins and 2 small bottles of tonic. 25 quid. Can you believe that? I am stunned. I was stunned. This says he hadn't heard of Rashid Sunak 5 minutes before the call, not 5 minutes after. But I've got no idea what that means. But it's okay because it's only my show. God, look at that switchboard. What's going on here? 0345 6060 973. It's dead as a doornail, that switchboard. Nobody interested in Fishy Sunak and his various travails? Terry says, Rishi should put some jam on his shoes and invite his... He should put some jam on his shoes and invite his trousers down for lunch. Yeah, he's got that flying at half-mast thing, doesn't he? I mean, when he sits down, those trousers are going to be up around his knees. Maybe if he stopped buying clothes in the children's section at C&A, they might actually fit him better. Hard to believe that somebody worth that amount of money goes out looking like that. I mean, what's with the skinny ties? The skinny ties and his skinny suit and his skinny shirt and... Yeah, okay, you're not fat, we get it. Tom says, my younger brother absolutely loves Jacob Rees-Mogg, and I don't know why. When I ask him, he says it's because Mogg is defending British tradition and values against Labour. Is my brother insane? Asks Tom. Well, let's think about that for a couple of seconds. Yeah, maybe, yeah. He might be a bit off his rocker. What do you say, Smug?
I don't know anything.
He still doesn't know anything. Paul says, Rishi just does not like meeting new people, as the first thing they usually ask him is if he's lost and looking for his parents. Yeah, you know, when the Lizbot left, I thought, well, they couldn't possibly find anybody more robotic than that. And they managed to, eh, Liz?
Absolutely.
Absolutely they did. He has all the personality of a small soap dish. I mean, they changed the lectern that he speaks from behind. Other than that, everything remains the same. It's like an animatronic at some wonky ride at Disney. And there was a couple of polls out, one of which was one of which was for the Mail, and one was from the Eye. Now, I mentioned the one that was published in the Mail. And that was that, basically the Labour Party are going to win it in a landslide. But conversely, people thought that Rishi Sunak would be better than Keir Starmer. What is it with people's resistance to accepting that man? I mean, he works overtime at being inoffensive. How come he's so offensive? This one, in The Independent, voters trust Rishi Sunak to handle the economy more than Keir Starmer, and believe that Rishi Sunak would make a better Prime Minister. They trust a man who's lost us tens of billions of pounds to fraud, who oversaw the highest taxes in forever, and the biggest hole in the nation's finances since they invented money, and the public think he's better at handling the economy than someone who has done none of those things. I mean, I know it's the principle of thinking someone is suited to the job because that's the job they're doing. But, you know, if he was a bus driver, and he mounted the pavement and crashed through the central barrier and drove 10 miles the wrong way up the M1, wouldn't the passengers root for someone else to have a go? Even if they don't know whether that person's got their driving licence yet. I mean, how much worse could they be? But no. But wouldn't anyone be better at this point? I mean, Labour remains on course for a heavy landslide victory, but there are signs that Fishy Sunak may be able to escape being tainted by the chaos of Liz Truss's premiership, because they've got a bit of a fishy boost. Liz Truss was Premier for about 10 seconds. Do you remember? And the state of the nation is not because of Liz Truss. It's because of 12 years of misrule by an out-of-control party that Rishi Sunak has been leading, at least in part, for all of those 12 years that they've been in power. I mean, the way they swap roles like musical chairs and present someone in the lead role that we've seen for years in a supporting role and pretend that it's not just a whole new cast but a whole new play. Do they think we're stupid?
Yes.
It's the same people. Paid for by the same people, taking instructions from the same lobbyists and think tanks and special interest groups. The destination hasn't changed. They're just taking the scenic route. See, Liz Truss tried to get there in a straight line, which took her over a minefield. Ain't that right, Liz?
Absolutely.
Over a minefield. Should have just gone around. You'd have got there a little bit more slowly, but at least you would have arrived alive. But if a general election were held tomorrow, 49% of those that expressed a preference would support Labour, while 26% would back the Conservatives. And I'd like to ask those non-millionaires that would vote Conservative, just what is it about the party that's brought us to where we are today that makes you love them so? What is it about their record that makes you yearn for more of it? And you have to answer without using the words socialist, chaos, or Jeremy Corbyn. So at the moment, there's a 23-point majority, or margin rather, of victory for the Labour Party. And that's despite Keir Starmer being a Sir, and despite all the time that he obviously lavishes on his hair. Meanwhile, down the card, the Liberal Democrats will be on 10%, the Greens and Reform UK each taking 5% of the vote.
What?
What? It's the greatest crisis that has probably ever faced mankind, the green issue, and the actual bloomin' Green Party is tied with the group formerly known as the Brexit Party.
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
What's happening? And if there was an election tomorrow, these results would be an electoral wipeout territory for Labour. That's according to BMG, with Labour holding a huge majority in the House of Commons. And 61% want the chance to cast a ballot before the end of the year. They want a general election right now. Any thoughts, Smug?
My view is the change of leader requires a general election.
Requires. My view. And that was when Labour was changing 1 PM for another. That's what Smug was talking about. Now it's the Tories changing PMs as often as most people change TV channels. His view is that there should not be a general election. And in a head-to-head contest, the two leaders are just about tied. 36% would prefer Sunak as Prime Minister and 35% would back Keir Starmer. But that's because we've come to know them so well. Just wait till we get more TV time with Fishy, and we'll think the same of him as we do Penny Mordaunt and Liz Truss and Boris Johnson and a lot of them. Just give it time. 0345 6060 973.
Conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
What number are you calling from?
Thanks for asking. I'm calling from 0345 6060 973. Windsor. Hello, Christine.
Oh, hi.
Where are you, Christine? Come into the light.
I'm recovering from COVID.
There you are.
But, you could have knocked me down with a feather. I thought, what? He stood on the lectern saying he was going to be honest, decent.
Yeah. Integrity was the word that he used.
Yes.
Good one, Fishy. Yeah.
But what's he going to do? He appoints Suella Braverman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's completely... He's as bad as all the rest.
As bad.
He's in the same...
Yeah. He's the same as
Johnson,
all the rest. Yeah.
Mock, Truss.
All of them.
They just have these sound bites, accountability and credibility. Yeah. I mean... And as for the Daily Mail saying that 31, the Daily Mail says that 31% he's accepted as being credible by the public at 31%, and Keir Starmer at 35%. Has the public gone mad?
Yes.
Or are they that dim? I mean...
You really want me to answer that question? Yes.
Reads integrity. You can see the man is so straightforward. And I'm so disappointed with Rishi Sunak. He's like a wet lettuce.
A little bit.
You know, he just sort of... He's like a little schoolboy, walks around like, I'm cock of the north and does nothing.
He's
rubbish.
He's wooden and like a wet lettuce at the same time, which is a pretty neat trick if you can pull it off.
Yes.
It's worse than you think, though, because he's got Gavin Williamson back.
What? Oh, no. Really?
Yeah, Gavin Williamson's an actual sir now, if you can believe that.
Never.
Sir
Who
Gavin
knighted
Williamson.
him?
Sir Gavin Williamson.
Joe.
Listen to me. Sir Gavin Williamson is returning to government with Rishi Sunak rewarding him with a role in the cabinet office. He's going to be a minister without portfolio.
And I'll tell you why Rishi's not going to the COP. Because he's embarrassed. Because, our country's a joke. And you might all the G7 people be there. He'll feel very lonely over there. So he's hiding instead of having the guts to go and say, yes, we did make mistakes, but we'll come up. He can't face the Brexiteers over there, the people. He can't face Europe and the G7 people because this country has been an absolute failure economically. And he can't show his face over there. That's why he's hiding behind his ministers that he's sending up there instead of him going. It's so important for him.
I'm not sure about that. I just think he doesn't want to go.
Yeah. Because he lose face.
I think if it's a toss-up between saving the environment and doing what the oil lobby wants, well, I think that the environment ship has sailed and sunk. All right, thanks a lot, Christine. Yeah, Gavin Williamson is now a part of our lives again. I am stunned. He's been sacked twice as a cabinet minister, and he's back in the government of Mr. Integrity. And it's not like he's coming back to, give us his expertise on any particular subject, because he is a minister without portfolio. What does that even mean? He's a cabinet minister without a job. Why? Because he's got a big whip. Why? Because he did such a good job in the education department. He's the guy that oversaw the exams fiasco. Well, it wasn't so much a fiasco. It wasn't a mistake, really. They just gave all of the best results to kids in private school, which sounds like less an error and more like the plan. Gavin Williamson. Sir Gavin Williamson. I mean, can you believe that part? No. I mean, really. What a silly country this is. Mr. Integrity, Fishy Sunak. First appointment, Suella Braverman. We're doomed. Epsom, Simi.
Hiya, Nick.
Simi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Oh, my gosh. Well, the subject that you just talked about, my son has just started Year 7 in private school.
Oh, yes.
He's going to the same school as Mr. Starmer.
Uh-huh.
And not because we have any disposable finances, we've got help from grandparents, but because the education system is so rubbish for him otherwise. But
what, in Epsom? I seriously doubt that.
We live in a very small village. We get the last choice of any decent school.
Right. And they're no good, are they?
I wouldn't say that they're not good. I thought
you just said that.
No, I went to a rough comprehensive. My brother went to a rough comprehensive. He's a doctorate. But I guess it's all down to the parents and your focus of what you have. But that's not the reason why I'm calling.
Well, all parents, most parents want the best for their offspring, but most parents can't afford to send them to private school. How much does it cost to send them to private school?
You can look up the fees for yourself. He goes to Reigate Grammar.
Okay, I'll guess, is it boarding or not boarding?
No, not boarding. He would die if he went boarding, yeah.
£12,000 a year.
12 to 15.
Oh, see, got it right.
Yeah,
now,
ding dong to you.
Are you concerned in any way that the average taxpayer is actually funding the education of your offspring through their taxes because that school is presumably has charitable status?
No, it doesn't actually. It's fee-paying school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Fee-paying schools have charitable status. For some reason, they managed to have wangled that. I don't know whether that particular school has, but others, the more famous ones that everybody will know, are actually present themselves as a charity, by which method they don't pay the same kind of tax that an ordinary business would.
I can't speak for that,
right.
And I'm almost embarrassed that I'm telling you, but it's only because that you brought up the subject. Right. I actually called to say that I know you were bored and you didn't have any callers, and I'm a British Indian girl. I usually listen to you all the time because I love listening to you. But it made me laugh this week what my son, who's at private school, said about Mr. Sunak.
Go on.
Okay. We have a phrase in Punjabi which is Zindabad, which means, if you wanted to cheer on yourself, you would say, Zindabad, Steve Allen. Zindabad, Steve Allen. Zindabad. It means long live.
Oh, right.
So long live Steve Allen. Long live Steve Allen. So, of course, the cricket was going on.
Well, why do you mention Steve Allen in this context? Well, I mean, of all the people in all the world.
I just want him to live longer.
You just want him to live longer, yeah. Well, so do we all. Yeah, for the ratings, they're passing on those huge ratings. Big numbers. Huge.
So my son kept on hearing me say this, but I was kind of saying it in fun and jest because my parents were supporting the fact that India had just won the cricket. And so I kept on saying, Rishi Sunak, Zindabad, Zindabad, Zindabad. So I said to my son on the night of Diwali, I said, you do realise that, we've got an British Indian Prime Minister. And he said, yeah, Zindabad. And I said, no, that's not his name. He said, that's what you've been saying all the time. It's Mr. Zindabad.
Right. Yeah, I think that the educational establishment that you're sending him to is failing that child.
I think so, you too.
All right, thanks a lot, Cindy. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. That child needs immediate educational intervention. Andrew texts, with Rishi Sunak, I'm always suspicious of people who smile a lot. To me, it suggests insincerity, says Andrew. Well, you know what suggests insincerity to me is getting a soft focus photo shoot done with you on a sofa with your dog. That's what speaks of insincerity to me. Mike texts, Therese Coffin may have the most detailed map of where the bodies are buried in the history of the world. Straight into 3 consecutive cabinets despite no evidence of any ability at all. Well, you put in Therese Coffin, I give you Gavin Williamson. I mean, really? How come the same inept faces keep popping up over and over again? Do they really have no one else to do any of these jobs?
No.
It must be that they don't. Talk about a shallow pool. You couldn't drown in that pool. My text, Therese Coffey. Oh, no, I read that. Luke says, for the first time, Doris talked some sense that Fishy's not going to COP27 was a mistake. What is this alternative universe? Yeah, I know. I found myself actually agreeing with something that Nadine Dorries said.
What?
And I thought, what's happening to me? What is happening to me? Answers on a postcard to the following address. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbot.
I am not
one of your fans!
0345 6060 973. Carnforth. Hey up, Annie.
Hey up, Nick. How you doing?
I am great, mate.
Good. I don't know what's the matter with the people in this country, Nick. Do you think they've all become masochists? Right. I mean, say they want more spending cuts.
Yeah.
Do they actually really know what that means?
No.
Do they really realise
No, they
this
don't.
means
No.
less money for the NHS, less money for social care, both of which are absolutely crumbling,
Yeah.
it seems, and for everything else, education, the justice system.
Well, here's what human beings are like. You can say, we'll give you less of all of that, or here's a $5. And they'll snatch that $5 out of your hand as soon as you produce it.
Yes, it's madness, isn't it? Because there's nothing wrong with tax cuts, so long as they're for the right people, i.e. not the people, towards the bottom of the pile, or even in the middle. Just things like capital gains tax they could raise.
Yeah.
They could stop that cut to the bank levy they did a few years ago, about 3 years ago. They gave the bank levy a 4% cut, which is just the fee that banks have to pay every time they do an interaction with each other, which, comes to billions. And, that was the year when there was absolute outcry about giving more money to social care. So they didn't give any more money to social care, and yet they gave the bank levy a cut of 4%.
Yeah.
So they could stick that back up again, stick capital gains back up.
Well, they're not going to do any of that because they get their money from hedge funds and bankers and people in the financial finagling racket. And they themselves have assets that would be taxed at a higher rate if capital gains went up. And that's the last thing they want, because that's where their wealth resides, not in their wages, but in their assets.
Oh, definitely. But I mean, austerity is always a political choice. And this is the choice they make, to clobber us lot down at, near the bottom, and to keep everybody like them and themselves, because many of them are multimillionaires anyway, like Rishi Sunak. Well, he just happens to be the most wealthy, doesn't he? But, so
and the reason that they're doing it is because people keep saying, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?"
Yes. And they also seem to think that Rishi Sunak's, this wonderful bloke. Because I heard somebody being vox pop today, and she said, it's really good that Rishi Sunak has got in because he gave us furlough. And I was thinking, hang on a minute, what about all the other things he's done? Like 3 million people were left out of that furlough thing, all the self-employed who went bankrupt, some of them, and lost their houses.
Tens of billions of pounds of public money has just disappeared. No one knows where under his watch.
Absolutely. And what about the £20 a week cut to universal credit that he brought back in, having given them an extra 20 quid during COVID, and then, but you don't need it after COVID. I mean,
like their life has improved dramatically
since then. And all the other loads of stuff he's done. I'm just trying to think what else. I had a big list in my head, but it's completely gone out of my head.
He's risen the taxes that people have to pay to the highest level in forever. He's put a hole in the finances that is larger than the Mariana Trench, and he's left the economy teetering on the edge of catastrophe. And people say, well, that's great. Let's have more of that.
Yes, definitely. And also, he wasn't going to give the kids who were on free school meals any help in the school holidays until he was shamed into it by Marcus Rashford.
If you're getting moral or lessons on morality from a Premier League footballer, then you know that something serious has gone wrong in your life.
Well, he's a Tory. That's what went wrong in his life.
All right. Thanks a lot, Annie. 0345 6060 973. That's where he made his big mistake, apparently. Val says, all will now be okay. Now we have got Dominic Raab and Sir Gavin Williamson back. We have a better cabinet than the French. We've got a better cabinet than the French.
I just reckon we've got the very best people in this country. Much better than the French have, much better than the Belgians have, much better than the Americans have. That doesn't surprise me at all, because we're a much better country than every single one of them.
Much better country than every single one of them. What have we done? How have we managed to get along without Sir Gavin in one of the top jobs? Now he's got a job that's not a job, a minister without portfolio. What does it even mean? Let's have Reading. Patrick.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick.
When I phoned in, I was going to talk about how Rishi Sunak is the same person as like previous government, but now I've thought about it, and I've noticed there's like this absence of Brexit, and no political party is going to talk about it at Westminster, and it seems as if it's just like not even happened, and we voted to remain because it's not. But like you can see the economic, like it's slowly going down, and I think one of the biggest issues of why Brexit just remains messed up because they made it out to be the second we left, everything was going to go down. Everybody's going to be unemployed.
On the other hand, people that were all for Brexit said the opposite. They said that the second that we leave, everything is going to be much, much better. You know, Smug said that our clothes and our shoes, our footwear, not shoes, of course, because that's too common a word to use. Our footwear and our clothes and our food is going to be much cheaper. 8% cheaper straight away, I believe he said. And that turned out to be incorrect.
Yeah, I was watching a video on the Financial Times on YouTube, and it is very good because it lays that out, and you can see that it has definitely caused a negative effect. And I think eventually, in some way or another, we're going to have to end up rejoining some form of the EU.
It just seems amazing to me that no major party is actually talking about this. Keir Starmer doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't even want to acknowledge that there is a letter B in the alphabet. Doesn't want to go anywhere near it. And the Tories, of course, can never admit that it was a disaster in the making and a catastrophe in its execution, because that's what they've based their entire promise to the electorate on. We got Brexit done, remember?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Except he didn't get Brexit done. Brexit will never be done. It's like the country's got a slow puncture. It's not going to be a catastrophe. It's not like a cliff face that will fall off. We'll just get slowly poorer and poorer and less significant. And people will come to us less from other countries asking for, favours or advice, and our significance on the world stage will be diminished, as it already has been. And what the Tories do is they send some hapless oaf out on a mission to strike a trade deal with Mongolia. I don't think I'm making that up, am I? They came back with a trade deal from Mongolia. They said we'll be able to sell them our hot, delicious milk or chicken. No, it was chickens, wasn't it? We can sell chickens to Mongolia. How's that going, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, they're going to supply the Nandos that they got in Mongolia, a number which is not larger than the number of Nandos in Leeds. And all the deals that we've made so far amount to about, I think is it 0.08% or 0.8%? Anyway, it doesn't make never mind. And that amount is over 15 years. And most of the trade deals are just exact copies of the ones that we used to have in the European... You remember the European Union, don't you? Yeah, that's it. Most they're just direct copies. They just copied and pasted and pretended it was a brand new trade deal that we couldn't have got unless we were in the European Union. And it's just a slow puncture, but none of them are prepared to even mention it, let alone talk about it or talk about reversing this catastrophic route that we've convinced ourselves somehow is the route to take. There are warning signs all over this road.
Warning, warning.
But we've got our foot to the floor and we're powering ahead anyway. What could possibly go wrong? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Yeah!
are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. You know, if Donald Trump says that you have sane hands, then you need a checkup from the wrist down.
Oh, shut up!
Twitter is in sane hands now. Yeah, it's, yeah. The dingalings will be happy, though. You bet they will. What do you think, Kanye?
Whoop-dee-dee scoop poop.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Hey, Melania, your husband may be rage tweeting again.
I don't care.
She's actually not that bothered. It's not so much separate bedrooms as, separate mansions in different countries would be probably the best choice. Frank says, send King Charles, to COP27? He actually knows what he's talking about, says Frank. Well, I suppose he's been a friend to nature. Those parts of nature that he doesn't shoot out of the air, the part of nature that's not food. But it comes to something when you take lectures on being eco-friendly from a man who lives in mansions and manors and cottages and estates and palaces and castles. I mean, really, turn off a light, mate.